Hey, Newland Dolphins. Today, I'm reading The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. This is one of my favorite books of all times. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax, and why was it there, and why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, the old Onceler still lives there. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler, don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkin at the top of his store. He lurks in his lurkin, cold, under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffled moof. And on special dank midnights in August he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks, and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail in the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather's snail. Then he pulls up the pail and makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you've paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his glove in his glove. And then he grunts, I will call you by whisper my phone, for the secrets I tell you are for your ears alone. Slup. Down slups the whisper on my phone to your ear, and the old Onceler whispers are not very clear since they have to come down through a sneggly hose, and he sounds as if he has a smallish bee up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean. The song of the Swami songs rang out in space. One morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile on the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking around in their barbalot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From a riperous pond came a comfortable sound of humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had a sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I'd built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop, and with great skillful skill and great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a sneed. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump. I looked and I saw something pop out of a stump of the tree that I chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him. That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongue. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed, what is that thing that you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there is no cause for alarm. I chopped down just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a sneed. A sneed is a fine thing that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, "Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth that would buy that full sneed." But that very next minute, I proved he was wrong, for that very next minute a chap came along, and he thought that the sneed that I knitted was great, and he happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. "You poor stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy." "I repeat," cried the Lorax, "I speak for the trees. I'm busy," I told him. "Shut up, if you please." I rushed across the room and in no time at all built a radio phone and I put in a quick call. I called my brothers and uncles and aunts and I said, "Listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Wensler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Waukegan, sharp right at South Stitch." And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Wensler family was working full tilt. We were knitting sneeds just as busy as bees to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making sneeds 4 times as fast as before, and the Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, "I'm the Lorax and I speak for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of brown barbaloots, who played in the shade in their barbalet suits, and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round, and my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies." "They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys," he cried and sent them away. I, the Wensler, felt sad as I watched them all go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factories, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered my loads. Of sneeds I shipped out, I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering and selling more sneeds, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes, when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. "I am the Lorax," he coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled, he snargled, he sniffed. "Wensler," he cried with a croforious croak, "Wensler, you're making so much smoginous smoke. My poor swami swams, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat." "And so," said the Lorax, "please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape all the smog that you've smogged up round here." "What's more," snapped the Lorax, his dander was up, "let me say a few words about this gloppity glop. Your machine chugs on all day and night without stop, making gloppity glop and sloppity slop. And what do you think you do with that leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Wensler man, you." "You're gumming the pond where the humming fish hummed. No one can hum with their gills all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and they'll get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax, "Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir. I'm telling you, I intend to go on just doing what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering. Turning more truffula trees into sneeds, which everyone needs." And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more sneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles, my aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into cars. They drove away under smoke-smudged stars. And now all that's left, 'neath this bad-smelling sky, was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, sad backwards glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he heisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all the Lorax left here in this mess was one small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. But that was long, long ago. But each day since that day, I've sat here and I've worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So, catch, says the Onceler, he let something fall. It's a truffula seed, the last one of them all. You're in charge of the last truffula seed, and truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from acts that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. The end. I hope you enjoyed The Lorax, one of my favorite books. And until I see you next time, have a good one.